I have the symbol H. What element is the symbol H? I think it's hydrogen. Flip. It is! Yay! Hello, everybody. Welcome to my second and third interaction for my AR app called ChemPlay, which will help you to learn the elements of the periodic table easier, faster, and in a more engaging way. So let's gonna start with the second interaction, which is the card flip animation. For this, the first thing I did was to import the assets, which are the design of the front of the card and the back of the card. I designed those in Canva. It was really easy. After that, what I did was to go to the textures I just imported and set their compressions right here. Set the compression to none on all of the devices and in both of the textures. Then I created the materials for each of the textures. I put the type of material as flat, and then I just added the texture of the card front to the front and the card back to the back. Then I created two plain objects, one for the front part of the card and one for the back part. Add the material, the front for the front and the back for the back. They didn't look as good, like the dimensions weren't perfect. So what I did was to change the scale right here to 0.5 and 0.8 and 1 for each of the plane objects right here. Then I created a null object I call card, and I incorporated both of the planes objects inside of the null object right here. And then I changed the scale here so the card looks a little bigger, the whole thing. Now let's gonna see how I created the animation itself, like the movement. For the animation process, I created a logic on the patch editor. The first thing I created was a transition patch. Then I went to the null object called card and I clicked this arrow and I added the rotation as a patch and I connected the transition patch with the card 3D rotation patch. Then I created three more patches, which were the screen tap patch, the one that creates the interaction with the user that every time you tap, something happens. Then I created the switch patch and I connected it to the screen tap. So every time the user taps the screen, it switches, it flips something, it turns something on or off. And then I connected the output of that switch patch to to an animation patch. I connected the output to the input of play, and then I connected the animation patch to the transition patch. Once I connected these two, the patch editor automatically created this pulse patch and automatically create the extra connections needed. All this together makes that when a user taps the screen, the card the switch turns on, that creates a pulse that turns on the animation and it plays the transition of a 180 rotation from the y-axis in the null object named card, and the card flips. That was our second interaction. Now let's take a look how I did the third and last interaction. It was really easy. It took most of the time, but I did it by looking at YouTube and I found these really helpful channels with the perfect tutorial. I will be provide you the link for these channels in the post, in the discussion post. What I did first was to download all the assets and all the extras, extra coding or anything that we needed to create, that I needed to create this filter. So I downloaded this a scene object called quiz filter, and I just imported it. That pretty much set all the animations, all the most of the logic. It set pretty much all the complicated things. All I had to do was to add all the assets that I personally changed to provide the elements of the periodic table and the atomic number of each element. Then I created animation sequences objects. I created the animation sequence of questions, and then as textures, I imported the 10 questions of the quiz. Then I did the same for the answers of the right, then the answers of the left, and the score, which was the numbers, the score animation sequence. I just created all the animation sequence. Then I went to textures and I imported more assets, which was the right symbol, the wrong symbol, and the start symbol. Then I went to each texture and I made sure that the compression was set to none on all of the devices on all of them. After that, I went to the quiz filter and then I just matched all the assets and the textures with its input. For example, in every animation sequence, questions, right answers, left answers, I match them with questions, left answers, right answers, then the right texture with the right, the wrong texture with the wrong, and so on. Then here you can set how many questions you want. And this is like a Boolean logic programming where the checkbox, if it's checked, means the left answer is right. And if it's not checked, means the left answer is wrong. Therefore, the right answer is the correct one. After that, when I click start on the filter right here on the start input, what happened was an infinitive loop of many questions, all fast. What I did to overcome this was a little bit of uh, logic in the patch editor. I dragged the quiz filter object to the patch editor, and I also went to each of the animation sequences, and where it says advanced, I click current frame right here, and I added the arrow of current frame to the patch editor. After that, I just connected them by the question count output to the left answers, right answers, and question input. Then the score I put to the score input. Then I develop how to start the filter, what will be like the switch that will start the filter. To do that, I went to the camera device object and I drag it to the patch editor as well. Then I went to the quiz filter and in the inputs, I grabbed the arrow of start and put it on the patch editor and connected the video recording output to the start input. This means that when someone starts recording with the filter, it will start the animation and the transitions and all the quiz and all its features. So that was it. This is the last interaction, my favorite one personally. I hope you enjoy it and learn something. Thank you all for watching.